hey, what am I supposed to do with all of this novelty fabric? I mean, I've got to use it up some way, somehow. Hi friends, Tracy here from the Sewing Channel. Today's tutorial, I pilfered through all of my novelty Christmas fabrics, cut them into 10-inch squares. I have about 40 or so. If you're looking for layer cake quilt patterns, this is your tutorial. Enough talking already, so much to learn. Let's get busy. When you start pilfering through your fabric to make a layer cake, be sure that you have a wide variety. I have lights, I have darks. This is probably more like a medium, that green background color. It's important that you have a wide variety so that way, you know, the quilt's not boring. But I've never met a scrappy quilt that was boring, so I think we're good. Once you find them, find about 40 or so. I don't know how many we're going to use in this quilt because you know I quilt as I think it up. So cut them all into 10-inch squares, just like as if you were buying a layer cake from the store. I only had a couple Christmas fabrics that were in black because I definitely want to use black to outline a lot in this quilt. So I will use these two 10-inch squares, but I also needed to bring in some black fabric that I had on hand. So you can use whatever. Hopefully you can see that the contrast, one has white dots and one is kind of has some gray tones within the black, and that's perfectly okay. I mean, you know, as long as it showed up darker than the rest of the fabrics that I was using, I'm good with that. You'll cut a bunch of 10-inch strips that are 1 inch in width and a bunch of 8-inch strips that are 1 inch wide. So I have some started here. A tip I wanted to share with you, I wanted to really use these right here, and this was a black fabric jelly roll that I bought at one time and I never used it. The reason I don't tend to buy any jelly rolls, they're cut from selvage to selvage. What happens in between is it stretches. I hope you can see that. Well, the thing is, when I'm already cutting on the bias on my blocks, I don't need anything else to be wonky. This is the selvage side right here. And I want you to notice, do you see how that stretches? Yeah, I don't want to cut my strips that way. No, I want to cut them alongside of the selvage because watch this. It's strong. It's not going anywhere. That means that it's going to help me when I go to press it all out. It's not going to get all wavy and wonky. So just keep that in mind when you're cutting yours. And that's how you can tell which side is the strongest. It's always the side that runs along the selvage. So it's this side. Because again, yeah, I don't want that right there for this. So, I mean, anything else is fine, but not for this. All you're going to do is just cut up some strips, 1 inch in black, or in the same color family as black. I already have some started here so that we can get busy making this quilt. You can also check on your 10-inch squares which side is going to be the stretchiest and which side is not. That's the side that I want to cut my strips from if you're cutting from a layer cake. So I'm going to line up 1 inch here, come in with my ruler, check it, and slice. And there's a 10-inch in black. And even though there's some green in there, I'm good with that. I don't care. You just need enough to cover in one block here. You need enough to cover 8 inches, and you need enough to cover 10 inches. Okay, we'll just let those fall because, yeah. It's important to note that with today's pattern, the strips, you're not going to want to make them any wider than 1 inch, and that will give us a perfect block. You'll see. The next thing you're going to do is cut out 2 templates. Lay a ruler down. This needs to be a 6-inch square first. So I cut out the template in a 6-inch square. And then after that, I take and I cut corner to corner on that 6-inch square and slice that. And that leaves me with this template right here. So you're going to want to make a 6-inch square, slice it corner to corner, and you're going to want to make a 4.5-inch square and slice it corner to corner. And that's all the prep work, I think. we're going to pair up these fabrics with probably more like a light and dark, just so that there's contrast. This pretty pink one, isn't this pretty? I'm going to match that up with, this is the fun part too. So don't get too caught up that things have to be so whatever. It just have fun with it. So I think we'll put this green because that's quite a bit of contrast. I'm going to flip it so the lighter side is up top. I'm going to line them up so that they're totally even. So what I would do is pair all of these up and then go through like mass production and put all the lines on it. But I'm just showing you how to do it, you know, right out the gate, how to do one. Another tip that I have for you is that when you go to lay a ruler down and you're going to pencil in corner to corner, because you're going to stitch on both sides of that pencil mark, you're going to first take your pencil, you're going to lay it solid right there, right in the center of that tip where you want to start writing. Then you're just going to come in with your ruler and just boom, make it hit that right there. And then once you know that this is solid here and you're pushing this ruler in toward that pencil, it's kind of anchoring it. So we're looking down here to where the other corner is. So that way, as soon as I get it, I go in and I mark it. Maybe. So I'm going to get busy and pair these up. Now that everything's all paired up, all I'm going to do is go in with a long ruler and draw a line corner to corner. Now all you're going to do is take it to your sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch beside each line that you made on your square. Now you can pin if you'd like, it's up to you. Normally I would chain piece these all the way through on one side and then go to the other side, but I don't like to do that when the blocks are this big. So I sew down one side and the other side, and I do clip my threads with my automatic cutter. Set this aside and go in for the next one. I'm going to get these all sewn up, and then I'm going to show you the next step. After I've sewn a 1/4 inch down each line, then I take it over to my pressing station real quick, because you can see here how it ripples a little bit because it is on the bias. So I'm just going to give it a quick press. I'm not going to try and distort the fabric at all. I'm just going to, you know, lightly lay down my iron. And I'm just going to, you know, make everything as flat as it can be before I start cutting into this. Now, be careful though if you used a marking utensil that erases with heat, because then you won't be able to see that line in order to cut, so because it'll disappear. Once everything's all pressed out, then you're going to take and just cut right down the center from corner to corner, right on the line that you made. Now what I'm going to do right here at this step is make 2 piles. Because they're identical, I want to make sure that I mix things up really good, and I don't want to get it caught up in there. The second one that's identical to it, well, it's not really identical, it's mirrored images, but you know what I mean, hopefully, right? Okay. So we're just gonna keep slicing until we get it all done. I'm thinking that I want to make this quilt for my grandkids because it's so fun and festive. Thinking that they'll use it in the car, like in the winter when they're going back and forth to different places, like, you know, to Mimi's house and such, you know. Because even though there's heat in the car, there's something cozy about, you know, something festive and colorful and warm, right? So I don't know. So I'm thinking it might be like a car quilt. Let me know in the comments what you all think about a car quilt. I've never had one, but I've always thought about having one and keeping one on hand. Do any of you have a car quilt in your car? I mean, God forbid, you know, you get stuck out somewhere and you're freezing, right? I mean, it can happen and does happen. I don't think that I'm going to put any batting in it because I'm thinking I want to use this 1.5 yards of Sherpa that I have. So I think that's what I'm going to use. Maybe a flannel on the inside. I don't know yet. We'll see. This quilt is a work in progress until we get to the end. Now you'll just want to take these and open them up. And you can press however you like, to the dark, to the light. It doesn't really matter. You can press open if you want. I'm just going to press to the side though, because I have a lot of blocks to do here. And give them a nice press. It's important to note, I didn't tell you at the beginning, do not starch any pre-cuts ever, be it a jelly roll or a 10-inch, 5-inch square, whatever, or the real teeny tiny ones. You never want to starch because what happens is that starch will shrink that fabric. So keep that in mind. Now, I could have totally starched because I cut mine out of fabric or big scraps that I had. So technically, if you're pilfering through what you have in your stash, you could starch first and then cut. Always starch, then cut. Let me get these all pressed out, and then that's when the fun will begin. Oh yeah, you thought we were having fun already? We're about to have some real fun. After your huge half square triangles are all pressed, then it's time to trim them down to 9.5 inches square. Just find that diagonal line on your ruler. I happen to have a 9.5 inch ruler, which is amazing, so I'm happy about that. I did not, however, have a 10-inch square ruler when I cut these for the layer cake. So yeah, I need a 10-inch ruler. So I'm just going to lay that diagonal right on the diagonal line in the center, making sure that all areas are covered and that still is a perfect diagonal. And then I'm going to trim. I trimmed up half of the blocks that I sewed, and this is the leftover. So not much waste at all. Grab those templates that you made at the beginning. One is 6-inch and one is 4.5 inch. Alternate between sides, not on the seam side, on the open side that have no seams on them. So let me show you. I'll lay this 6-inch down here. In my quilting career, I've made hundreds of paper templates and cardstock templates. The best way, if you have to make your own template, is to lay your template down where you need it and grab a ruler and come up alongside of it. Make sure that the template is square there. Hold down the template with your fingers and then just butt this ruler up against that template. If this was a paper template, it might go over it, but since it's a little bit heavier, it's that comic board, you know, that you buy to wrap your fabric in. It's acid free and all that. I have a ton of it, so I use it for templates. It works great. When you lay your ruler down, you can also tell how even this corner is by looking at a line on your ruler, and I'm dead on. So there's 2.5 inches worth of that pink fabric when you lay this 6-inch template on. We're gonna lay that like so, push the template away, and then slice. Oh, jeez, no. Oh my gosh. Oh dear, that was a terrible demonstration. Don't follow my lead. Oh, I hope I caught that, because yeah, that's bad, because that's the only piece of fabric I have of that one. That'd be bad. I'm lining back up. Clearly I can't teach, talk, and cut at the same time. Hold down firmly with this hand and then go in and slice. Yes. Okay, we're good. You have this triangle. So you're going to set this in a pile right there. Then flip this and then grab your 4.5 inch template. Lay that down in the corner. Grab your ruler, butt that up right against there. And then on this one, you should be pretty even. I'm a hair off, but I can fudge it. So when I lay that template down, I actually have 1, 2, 3.5 inches on that side that I'll be cutting, or that I'll be leaving on the green there. Once you have it, hold firmly down and slice. Now you have that little triangle, and that's that pile. And you're left with this, and you're going to just set this in a pile. So we have 3 piles, the big triangle, the little triangle, and then the big piece that has both fabrics on it. You're going to do that with every single square. Doesn't matter, you can pick and choose whichever side you want the template on. Just as long as you use both templates on the same piece, you're good on opposite sides of each other. Push the template away and slice. Put that in that pile, flip it, grab the 6-inch, line it up, and put it in the pile. Put it in the pile. It'll take you a second to get through them all, but just relax, enjoy it. Just take your time and enjoy the process, really. It's that much fun. It really is. Trust me, this quilting thing that I do and you do, it's the most fun I've ever had in my whole life. Yep. You tell me in the comments, is it the most fun you've ever had too? If so, you're my sister. Okay, I got a whole stack to do here. Here's an example of the strips all sewn on. So after we've cut off both of those triangles on the block, then you're going to take and sew a 1-inch strip that we cut earlier on both sides. Use the longer one for the longer edge and the shorter one, for the shorter edge. Lay down right sides together, right up to the edge there. The wonderful thing about not being along the bias here is that we're just going to be able to run that straight through, no issues. No warping, no nothing. You're sewing a bias area to a non-bias area. The bias area should go underneath always, because your feed dogs will be able to catch them better. Because if it's on top, the bias, it's going to be all crazy and wonky. But since this one is not on the bias, the strip, we're good to go. At this point, after I sew the one strip, I'm going to push that over and finger press that. Then I'm going to grab the next strip that goes on the long end and lay it down right along the edge there, right sides together. Finger press over. Actually, that seam is too much. Got a little wonky there at the end. So if you get too much seam allowance, you want to make sure and unpick, because you don't want that excess to be taken up within the seam allowance, because we want all of the strips to be the same. So I'm going to just unpick up to about right here. That's when I got wide. Probably because I was talking, because we all know it's hard for me to, sew and talk, I guess. I mean, I've proven that. A little bit more, a couple more stitches. There we go. All I'm going to do is back up to where I do have stitches still in there, and I'm going to restart there. I'm not going to back stitch or anything though right here. I'm just going to go over those few stitches and then just keep going. Perfect. Now we're going to push that back and finger press. And you're going to grab your hot iron and press that over onto itself, that seam allowance. That'll make more sense here in a second. I'll show you. That you want to make sure that you press that way. When you have your big pile, all the strips are sewn on, I just want you to take an angle cut right here where that corner was, and I want you to trim that off. Trust me, it'll help you here in a sec to not have that. You don't want that on there, because you know what, it's just going to mess you up. So line it up here. Actually, if you want to go ahead and square that off, you can, like so. Cut. And you're going to do this on all 4 sides. This block is really easy. It just has, you know, a handful of steps. No biggie. You can do it. I know you can. These two don't really have much contrast, do they? So that kind of stinks. Is pick a bigger triangle and a smaller one to connect onto this block right here. Let's see, that one looks good to me, I guess. And I'm thinking we need like that, right? Once you've found your small and your large triangle, then you're just going to flip this over and line it up. Now when you line this up, because we've cut those edges off, I want you to be mindful that you have the same amount of that little dog ear sticking out as you do on this side. Like both sides need to be the same. Bring it over to your sewing machine, start at a 1/4 inch. Now you saw what I did wrong there, right? When I laid this down, I should have went like this. Remember why I told you about the bias, right? That triangle, it's cut on the bias, so it needs to go on the bottom with the feed dogs. Remember, I almost forgot my own tip. If you utilize this tip, you'll have less headache in quilting. This was why I said to press toward the black earlier, because now we're going to press toward the black again. I love how this just will nest together here. It's almost like a little secret compartment in there, you know, I love it. Whenever I get a chance to press this way, I always press toward that little strip piece. It just makes for nice, neat work. Then turn it over. And just make sure that everything is pressed. There's a trick to trimming this block so that you get everything perfect when we get it up on the design wall, and then eventually when we end up sewing them all together. I want you to notice here that that is sticking out. See that? These two center strips right here, they're the most solid in this block as far as the 9.5 inches goes. That's what you want to look at. When you lay that ruler down, you want to follow this and this. Whatever's sticking out gets cut off, but you have to make sure that this is in the ruler. So I'm going to lay my ruler down, and I'm going to look down here on these center blocks to make sure that I'm square, and then up here and along the side. And that's what I want to square up first. I'm not looking at these triangles at all, because I need to make sure that these are straight. Once I know that those are straight, then I'm going to look and see what I have left and see if anything's missing, which it's not. There's a little bit hanging off, so then I'm just going to go in and trim. And you can see there not much came off. Line up, and it should be nice and square here on this side because you just did that side. You can see there what comes off. There is the block. Now we're just gonna do that to, you know, how many ever I have right there, which should be about 20 or so, I think. Yeah, 20? No. 20? Yeah, 20. These were my mock-ups right here, so I'm gonna get rid of these. You know, maybe we'll use them, I don't know. But they were mock-ups, so we're just gonna toss those there on the floor. And we're going to put our first block up here. Pretty, pretty. I'm going to go ahead and trim off all these black edges here so that they're nice and flush with the block. And then I'm going to pick out what I'd like on these blocks, and then I'll meet you back. So here's what I have so far. I know, right? There's like no resting spot for the eye. But you know what? That's okay. It's okay. Trust me. It's busy, I know, but it's for kids, so, you know, and hey, what am I supposed to do with all of this novelty fabric? I mean, I've got to use it up some way, somehow. This is the way, and this is the how. I did pick out 9 more blocks because my Sherpa was a pre-cut at 1.5 yards, and I can't make it too big, the quilt top. So this is what we're looking at. And it is super soft. I dropped it a couple times here in the sewing room, and it's full of thread now. But it was in a package, nice. So I got it like Walmart. I don't know. I mean, it kind of hurts my eyes. I'm not going to lie. It kind of does. You know what? I'm not going to be cuddling with it. Those kids are. They love this stimuli. So I'm thinking, anyways, I don't know. I had to pick out 9 more blocks. So I went back to that pile. And now I'm going to just press and prepare the rest. I don't know. Try not to be too harsh on me in the comments, though, with all this going on. Just love the layer cake pattern and think of the possibilities. You could have all of this being a solid color, like a white. That would break up some of that. Or you could make one of the center blocks here, you know, one color. But you know what? I had a lot to get rid of. So, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I just didn't want to just throw this fabric to the Goodwill. I really wanted to use it. And honestly, it would have probably gone to the Goodwill if I didn't hurry up and just try to do something with it. I mean, we buy it because we think it's so cute, right? But then it sits in our stash forever and there's not really anything that goes with it. I mean, unless you buy, you know, a layer cake from, you know, a designer or something like that. It's just about dusk here. My window's exposed. I don't have that quilt up in the window. And so my neighbors are walking by and they're probably like, who is that woman talking to as she's, you know, vigorously pressing and looking up. And it's super bright in here because I have my ring light. So, I mean, it just looks like I'm up to some weird stuff. That is just the life of a YouTuber, I guess. It's funny, really, when I think about it. I will trim this, and I'll do my little triangles and all that. Hopefully, I'll be done enough where you can come back, and then we can put that Sherpa on. That's going to be fun. I'm going to share with you a technique you probably wouldn't think of when doing a quilt like this. So, stick around. Okay, friends, here it is. It doesn't look so bad now. I think I like it now. When it was only partially done, I didn't care for it, but now I think it's growing on me. I don't know. You let me know in the comments. These last 2 right here, I did sew together and you can see they match up perfectly. I just grabbed 2 here and I'll show you how I match them up. It's really easy. And you can pin too at this point. Grab my pins. You just have to match those up perfectly. You don't have to do any shimming or anything like that. They should just all go together perfectly, just like a puzzle. Once you get that pinned, then it's okay to go ahead and start sewing. You can see mine did not match up perfectly, but that's okay. That is totally okay. I'm not going to worry about it. I think this seam was, I came in a little bit more narrow and it took in too much seam allowance. But you can see here too, I may have come up a little bit, but yeah, it's okay. I'm good with it. All I did was then just press the seam open and give that a hot press. And then add the next one, just like you would normally do. You can't even tell if you hold it back here. But like this one, that one was pretty on. In the next clip, I should be up and had my coffee and ready to go. I tackled this right away when I got up this morning. The tip I wanted to share with you on this part where you connect all of the blocks together is I start out with making one big 4-patch at a time. This way, when you go to the sewing machine at the end, you're not tackling such awkward pieces. So I'll do a 4-patch here, 4-patch, 4-patch, so on. And then when I got to the end here, I just did 2, 2, and 2. If my Sherpa would have been bigger, I would have put another block on, which would have, you know, made it more whatever, even on the sides. That's okay though. I'm not worried about it. I may put a small border on though. I haven't decided yet. Before I get to finishing up that quilt top, I wanted to share with you what I decided on the inside of this quilt. I've already told you that I'm going to do the Sherpa for sure on the backing. I recently inherited all of this flannel right here with Hot Wheels on it because I have a grandson now. But you know what? I'm not thinking of using this anytime real soon, and I bet you there'll be some left over after I tell you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to cut a piece of this off to match the quilt top, and then I'm going to sew this to the quilt top. It'll all make sense. I know it sounds weird, but just trust me and stay with me. One tip that I want to share with you, if you're going to try the same thing, you can see here how bold that blue, orange, and red is, right? I don't want that to show through my quilt top, which it totally could. So what I'm going to do is flip this to the opposite side. So the Hot Wheels will be facing that Sherpa, and then this whiter side right here will have the quilt top on it. And you can see that makes a huge difference, I think anyways. Plus, when you put this on there too, on the back, you're probably not going to see it really. You have to try to think of everything as quilters, right? So that's the plan. I think I can put a thin border on this quilt and still have enough Sherpa. But let me cut this up and sew these up, and then we'll figure it all out. So you can see here, friends, I totally am putting a border on this because once I measured the Sherpa, it's actually a little bit bigger than what the package states that it is. So I added on those 2.5-inch strip jelly rolls that I bought a long time ago that I talked about at the beginning. I thought, you know what, I know I'm not going to use them on anything else, and I don't mind using them on a Scrappy 1-layer car quilt, so that's what I did. I just attached them, and I used about 4, I think. Here I'm just ironing down the seam allowance so it lays nice when I go to put the Hot Wheels on it. Things are looking good. So if you're new around here, I'm the quilter who quilts all of her quilts. Free motion quilt style. Now I know this isn't the typical quilt with the batting in the middle, but I'm still going to quilt it before I put that Sherpa on. That way we'll still have the look of quilting on the front, but with a snuggy back that I didn't have to fight with to quilt. So you can see all I have is that Hot Wheels there on the back, and it's done opposite so the white is facing. I'm free motion quilting a bunch of swirls everywhere on this quilt. Now, is it puffy like normal? No, not really. We're just going for like design's sake here. I'm lining up 2 inches in of the border and trying to keep things nice and square. Typically, I do corners first, but since this one was a little, wonky because of all of the bias, I had to do it this way. By cutting off some of those borders, we're going to give the illusion that, it's straight. Because if we were to cut in, you see how this waves out a little bit right here? Probably because, it was too much there. I don't know what happened, but we're going to fudge this in here. See the 2-inch mark? And I'm going to leave a little bit wonky there. I'm just going to go out enough that I can fudge this. It won't totally be perfect, but it will be not too noticeable. I'm gonna come over here and grab this. There we go. No one will be able to tell. You kind of shrink in anyways when you do quilting on your quilt. trimmed my quilt top. That's all done. The next thing I did was put right sides together, Sherpa to right side of quilt top. The tip here that I'm sharing with you is that I just took and clipped one whole side only. What I'm going to do is sew all the way down this one side, and I'm going to stop, readjust my Sherpa, and reclip on the other side, and then see if anything's wonky. That's how I do a, birthing a quilt top. They call it birthing. It makes me laugh though every time, but that's what they call it. Remember my tip about putting whatever is unstable next to the feed dogs. So that means the Hot Wheels is face up. I'm using my regular presser foot because I don't want to take the time to change it, but a walking foot would probably be a good decision at this point. I'm starting at the very end and I'm going to back stitch. And I'm going to follow along the edge of that batting, aka flannel. This one side is all sewn together. We clipped it on the edge. We didn't have to cut anything of the Sherpa yet. Then I went and laid it flat and pinned the other side, making sure that no Sherpa was bunched up, no quilt top, and all that. I used bigger pins, regular pins, and I'm going to start here and do a 1/4 inch, just like I did on the other side. Be sure to back stitch. Be mindful where your next pin is. I'm sorry, you're doing the opposite side of the one that you just sewed. So we have not sewn the top and the bottom yet. We're working on side 2. So I just wanted to share with you what it looks like right now while I'm checking it so that you can get an idea of what to check for on yours. So I turned it right side out. Now remember, I only did both sides. Now I did lay it out somewhere else so that I could see this, but I'm not taking the camera in on my bed, so you're gonna have to look at it right here. So this is the side right here that does not need to be cut. And I laid it out and everything lays nice and flat. But I just wanted you to see what that is gonna look like. Now the other side lays flat as well, but remember we have these 2 big openings too. And we have to cut all this. I'm gonna go ahead and trim the excess off the side, and then I'm going to go in and sew the top and bottom, but I'm gonna be sure to leave a space, about 6 inches or so, 7 inches wide, so that way we can turn our quilt right side out, or birth the quilt, so they say. So I did trim the other side. Now this is the top or bottom. I don't know because this quilt really does not have a top or bottom. But once those sides are sewn, then you can literally see that that's going to lay nice right there. I'm always having this up on top too, the Sherpa or Minky or whatever you're doing, and then lift it nice and easy and then pop your pin right there so that when we go to sew this, we can totally see right there. But you want it laying nice and flat. So you just pop the pins all along there. So let me go ahead and sew this up and the bottom, and then I will show you the birthing. Okay, friends, here is my opening right here. And I did leave, a substantial amount where the opening is because I need to tuck that in and top stitch that down. We're gonna top stitch around the entire quilt. So I need to make sure that that's a little bit big there. So that's why that's like that. But the rest has been trimmed. Well, let's birth this baby. For real. So I'm just gonna stick my hand in here and grab a corner, kind of push it in with my finger a little bit, pull that out. I mean, this is exciting, right? It's like Christmas morning for quilters. Kind of shove that in there, pull that out. Oh, my grands are gonna love this. Are you kidding me? Oh my word. They're just gonna love this Sherpa. I mean, it's not real Sherpa, come on. It's fake Sherpa, you can wash and dry it, so no worries there. But it sure does feel like Sherpa. It's probably like some polyester type stuff. I don't know, I'll have to look at the package. If I can find it, I'll link it below. Oh my word, so pretty. Wow, this quilt top is not ugly for sure. I was skeptical at first, but no, it's so pretty. Not only am I going to top stitch this all the way around, but I'm also going to tack it down strategically in different spots, and you won't be able to see it on the quilt top, and you probably won't be able to see it on the back either. Maybe, I don't know. We need to keep the quilt top and the backing together somehow, and that's the best way. I do about 1-inch tacks, but you'll see. So you see how that folds down nicely? That's what we want. I know that there's a lot in there, but nobody's going to be any the wiser that it's in there. But trust me, having that flap is a game changer. I learned that early on when I started birthing quilts. So this is how I clipped it. I rolled this with my fingers to make sure that that very edge was sticking out. We don't want one sticking over the other. So we want to make sure that it's even. When that stitch goes in, we don't want to see the other side of the quilt. I started sewing the opening closed first with just a top stitch all the way around, and I did change to some black thread. I never use black thread, so that's new. So nice top stitch. I started there, went all the way across. Look how nice that is. Oh my goodness. It's going to be so nice. So we're going to do that top stitch. I closed the opening up, and then I'm actually going to go in and do another top stitch on the inner border. And then I will show you how we tack this down. Oh my word, you guys, look at how cute this quilt is. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. I love it. So now what I'm going to do is go in and put those 1-inch stay stitches within this quilt. What I did was take 9 basting pins and strategically place them on this quilt. 3 in the top, 3 in the middle, and 3 along the bottom. But I laid that flat when I did that. You don't want to do it while it's just on your lap. Oh, this quilt is so nice. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you can see there the basting pins are in 9 spots. So I'm just going to find those 9 spots. And somewhere close to where that pin is, I'm going to follow along where I had pieced some of the fabric together, where the seam is. Like right here is good, right in the middle. And I'm going to drop my needle, and I'm going to go 1 inch forward and back. Oops, I did not mean to do that. Okay, back, needle back in. So that is 1 inch or so. Take out my pin. Now you're going to go to the next basting pin. Find somewhere near there. Right here's good. And take the basting pin out. Go find the next basting pin. Okay, friends, I had to stand on a little stool here so you could see. Look at how cute. I love it. I love how it turned out. I know it's got colors that you wouldn't think would match, right? But they totally match. You can't even tell where the tacking is. I hope you can see all of it. Did you invest in this entire video? If you did, I love you. I have so much more to share with you on my channel. I have hand-picked videos just for you. They're on the screen right now. Go ahead and click on one of them so we can keep learning together. Until next time on the Sewing Channel, take care.